Like you've got a smile on your face, and you look very cheery. It's a kind of a bright outfit.
A bright,
I like it. It's a nice. It's a refreshing change. It's a refreshing change for you because I was telling our producer John Hoagland that I feel like you've been very like stressed this season.
Yeah, it's been a
Have
shitty
you
season.
picked up
Did
on
you
that
see
about
my
yourself?
Pickett video I posted? I missed
No, I did not see your Pickett video.
six parlays by one fucking leg. And 3 of the 6 I looked back at, and 3 were really just bad picks, like Michigan over Texas. That sucks. Things like that. But like one of them was Michigan State over BC. They led the entire game. One of them was UTSA up, a touchdown at the end of the third quarter, threw an interception, bullshit, missed field goal. Like it was like really like nauseating to look back at that today. I'm like, thanks guys. I appreciate you letting me know. So I've got to like really step it up for bowl season. So maybe that's what it is. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be really positive going into bowl season, conference championships this weekend. And maybe some NFL dogs can start winning outright, except they won't.
I like this side of you. But if you want to be the people that should be stressed this season are the bookmakers in the NFL. We can never get a game across the finish line. You lose, all 3 favorites win on Thanksgiving, and then the Chiefs win on Friday. We did very well in that game, but the Chiefs did win. So in the back of your mind, okay, all the parlays are still alive. You get to Sunday, and you just need Carolina to beat Tampa Bay, which they should have. They blow it, and then you're like, oh my God, now we need the 49ers. And then when the 49er game ended, I had the guys, they told me how much we lost on Denver the next day. And I had told you that we took a very sharp bet on Denver. So I told those guys on Sunday night, get to work on writing Cleveland bets. That did work out for us, but barely. That was a crazy game with your Broncos. But we did not have a good weekend in the NFL, obviously, right? And we lose.
I feel like you say that every single Thursday, though. Like,
we can't get a favorite to lose a game. We can't get a favorite. And then in college football, honestly, college football in November was very positive. We had a very good month of November. But November 30th, we needed Clemson huge. And they punted that game. And then what we needed was USC to cover. So, if they won, it would have been great. But at least cover. They're down 7.
I was on them. Back-to-back pick sixes. Thank you for the reminder. That's what I mean. Like, I'm just trying to like smile through the pain right now because it is like reviewing some of those losses because it like gives you like, Spotify does Wrapped and it's like your most listened to song. And it's like the team that I had the best read on was the Air Force Falcons. I went 3-0 with Air Force this year. Like that, like really, that's the team I had the best read on, like one of the most garbage teams in college football.
That should be like your autobiography would be smile through the pain because your life is such a series of challenges, Kelly. Kelly, but before the show started, Kelly, we're talking about going to Dublin in August for a college football game, a K-State game. Kelly was mad at a friend of hers.
Okay, so time out. I'm not mad. Okay, so here,
you were mad. You were mad.
If we have 12 people, we should get a suite. So I text Ariel and Amanda. Amanda's my friend from K-State. Obviously, everybody knows Ariel. You had invited yourself. Sam Paniotovich jumped in the group chat and goes, we're going to Ireland. So I'm like, there's like 5. Then I text my buddy Ben. He's like, I've got 5 or 6 in my group. So I write the place.
Wait, hold on. Is that, I'm sorry. Is that Uncle Ben from Canada?
No, okay, my buddy Ben is a K-State alum. So
Uncle Ben from Canada is a great guy, but he's going to get annihilated.
Yeah, he's not coming to Ireland. I think Ireland would be a really bad place for him.
I agree.
But all jokes aside, I'm like, okay,
I'm not joking.
I think it'd be bad. It's going to be for a 12-person suite. It's like $12,000 plus tax and gratuity, right? All you can eat, all you can drink. Sounds like a great time. And Ariel was like, what? That's a lot of money. And I'm like, we're going to Ireland. Like, what do you mean? I think we spent that on a boat ride in Italy, or we spent that at like the beach club in Italy. What's the damn difference? Like,
you spent $1,000 on a boat ride in Italy?
Probably. We spent $1,000 on black cars driving us around. We spent $1,000 at the beach club. We spent $1,000. If you go in Italy, you're spending $1,000. I don't care. Lunch. You go to a 5-star Michelin restaurant. Her birthday dinner, pretty sure it was like $800 or $900.
No, this is why.
With K-State in Ireland, I would shell out $1,000.
This is why you're not relatable. You're not a relatable person. You're a celebrity.
This is why I'm very frugal in my day-to-day life. And so I can go do awesome things. Like go to New York City this weekend and see K-State get absolutely waxed by St. John's.
Can I just say that because I was part of a group with, them, Mitchell Moss and Johnny Von Tobel from VSiN, and we bought a suite for a Friday night Boise State UNLV game, which is now the Mountain West Championship game.
Yeah, but it's Boise State.
Boise State UNLV, and we paid, I think it was $4,500, and it came with 16 seats, and it was all you can eat, all you can drink. So $12,000 for 12 seats. That doesn't sound. Plus, the food in Ireland is lousy, right?
Well, of course it is in England too. I'm just going to starve the whole time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it does. So I don't know, man. I think I kind of agree with Ariel here. Like, why can't you sit with the common folk?
We can, but those tickets aren't out yet. And so I was kind of just like, all right. Plus, the suites have the best tickets, and then these like touchdown clubs that are already sold out have some of the best tickets. But yeah, like, okay, so let's just say this. Let's say we spend $300 on 35-yard line tickets halfway up. How much are we going to spend on food and booze while we're there?
Probably under $700 a person.
I understand that, but like being in the suite's just great. I love being in the suite. Anyway,
I love being in the suites too. But part of this deal is for me to go. You and I have to go to Anfield.
You, me, Ariel, Aunt Helen, a lot of other people want to go to Anfield too. Like, so the part of the deal is we're going to London Heathrow to go shopping, and then we're going to take the train to Liverpool. That's actually.
You're aware of how expensive those tickets are going to be, right?
You better tell Ariel because I actually don't give a shit.
They're gonna Liverpool home games cost a fortune. Okay, I'm just letting you know that up front. I'll talk to Ariel. That is not going to be cheap at all.
Of course, nothing about going to Europe, flying Delta One to London Heathrow, and then back out of Dublin is going to be cheap anyway. That's why I literally told Aunt Helen, she's like, do you want to go to the bowl game? And I was like, fuck no, I'm not going to support this 8-win team that should have won 10 or 11 games in some garbage bowl game in Memphis, Tennessee, when I'd rather save my money to go to Ireland. And then
why are the people of Memphis, Tennessee catching strays?
And then she told me if I need to borrow money, she would loan it to me. And I'm like, no, Aunt Helen, I'm just being a fucking asshole because this team sucks and I'm mad at them. I can pay to go to Memphis. I don't want to.
Do we have I've never seen this show before. We have a function to beep out all these expletives, no?
Didn't you hear the Bitcoin clip this morning? You're doing really bad with this new microphone where you're like tapping your desk and hitting it's like you don't know what to do with your hands. I'm doing this on mic.
I always do this. I'm doing this.
At least you're not
like this. Oh, that would be annoying. Well, I don't know. I said you looked very positive. You looked very cheery, and now you've dropped like 10 F-bombs in the first 5 minutes of the show.
So I guess the show does. This is just the show. You ask questions, I deliver answers. Either way, I'm excited to go to Ireland. If you guys have any Ireland recs, please drop them in the comments because I want to know what to do. I've got a whole laundry list of things. We talked about Scotland too, John Murray, by the way. I don't know. I kind of think like maybe a day. I don't know how this really works. Like, do we just take trains everywhere?
Are we trying to find Ariel like a handsome bloke while we're over there? Or what are we
I don't think so. I think that we should go to Israel if we're trying to do that.
Well, because I remember thinking, because I went to Italy in May, and I remember thinking there were so many beautiful people there. And I was like, okay, when you guys get to Italy, because I think you guys went in June or July, I was like, you got to find Ariel some like big, dumb, idiot Italian guy.
And we saw like none. We saw lots of short, chubby, not really that attractive. I mean, I think I maybe saw like there was more beautiful women for sure, but I think I maybe saw like two attractive guys. I don't do skinny jeans. Like the Euro body just doesn't really work.
That is very European. That's okay. But we weren't looking for somebody for you. Now, were we? You have we were looking for somebody for Ariel
because she needs like an Israeli guy that is like a badass that like kills people for a living. Like she needs, and then obviously it's also Jewish.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I have to get us out of this conversation. So let's talk about college. This is a pretty good week for college football, right? I mean, the Mountain West Championship game is Friday night. It's in Boise, Idaho. The Westgate will be booking that game at -105 both ways, as we have all year, all the UNLV games. That should be really good. And then you want to talk about, you like this side a lot, and this surprises me because everyone that knows you, and you could ask Pam Maldonado, and you could ask all your other friends, your fans, you hate the University of Texas, right? Yeah, you do.
The University
Well,
of Texas. I
yes, she
just
does.
think there's
Yes,
a
she does,
lot of
everybody.
times they're overvalued, but I think they're a favorite in this one for a reason. I think Georgia, now that they don't have a bunch of 24-year-olds playing on their team because they're all in the NFL, also they've got some locker room issues coupled with off the field issues. Look, this team just
What are their off the field issues?
I don't know, like racing cars and wrecking them, DUIs. Like, what do you mean? This team is a shit show.
So I don't agree with this narrative. I've heard this a few times that Texas is going to care more than Georgia. I don't know. Like, doesn't the winner of this game
both
get a
teams
first
should
round
care.
bye?
Yeah, they get a first round bye. I don't think it's a care thing. I think there's revenge from Texas getting their asses kicked in Austin. I actually don't think it's going to be much of a home game for Georgia, right? I think that more Georgia fans are going to want to go to the college football playoff games. They've been to the SEC championship so many times. Texas fans, on the other hand, this is their first SEC championship. It's not like they went to a lot of Big 12 championships. Sure, they won in 2023, but prior to that, they only had 3 since the late 90s. I think it's a much bigger deal for Texas, their first year in the SEC.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to have more fans, and I think they are going to care more, but there's no way to handicap that.
I think they'll have more fans. I mean, I can remember when West Virginia played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl in Atlanta. If you remember, the Sugar Bowl got moved out of New Orleans because of Hurricane Katrina. It was in Atlanta. It was West Virginia, Georgia. It was mostly West Virginia fans.
Yeah.
So
and I think it's going to be the same way. I don't know
know
why people think that Atlanta is some home field advantage or why they think Georgia fans wouldn't rather go to a couple of college football playoff games or a national championship. So I am on Texas. I like Texas in the spot. And I also think it will be equally hilarious that a team that only won 4 Big 12 championships is all of a sudden in the driver's seat to win the SEC, because of all the lovely biases and such.
Yeah, no, I mean, all kidding aside, it'd be very impressive for Texas to win the SEC in their first season. But I could say the same thing about the Big 12. I look at Arizona State, the team that had very little success in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 was always criticized by everybody.
Kenny Dillingham has a lot to do with.
That guy's done a great job. But I always made Pac-12 jokes. I thought it was overrated, and Arizona State was never even.
Look at the rest of the Pac-12.
Well, all I know is that Oregon,
not named Oregon, not named Arizona State. Sure. Look how crappy.
Well, you just took away their 2 best teams.
Look how crappy Utah looks. UCLA. They just fired their offensive coordinator. I mean,
that was a mutual decision. I heard that on X.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Whatever it was. But my point is that the rest of the Pac-12 not so good.
How old is Kenny Dillingham? Like 15?
He's young. He's definitely younger than us.
It's very impressive to me that Arizona State, after really not having much success in the Pac-12, now they're favored in the Big 12.
Oh my God, he's way younger than us.
Yeah, he looks so young. How old is he?
34.
Oh my God. Wow, that's crazy. So I'll go through the sharp plays we have this week in college. You're not going to like a couple of them, I don't think, based on you. Army +5.
Yep.
They played Tulane. I think that game is Friday.
It is Friday. I like Tulane.
Western Kentucky, they are also +5. They're playing Jacksonville State.
I would love Jacksonville State to lose, and I'm going to tell you why. Because everybody's bitching in the splash contest that the Sun Belt and Conference USA and MAC championships are included, even though they weren't included all year long. And that was probably something that we should have not done in hindsight. There's a lot of mistakes that we made in our first year, right? With our college football survivor, and we're going to make it so much better next year. But like a lot of people in the chat were pissed. And I'm like,
there's a chat function for the contest
on Splash. Yes.
Well, there is.
You can just imagine. Okay. Just imagine, if you will, what it's like. And so
I don't know how I missed that. It sounds great. I'm sure.
I like to apologize to people, and I'm sorry, but this was something that was put in place that was like pretty much like a non-negotiable. It was like told, hey, like all the college football championships are going to be included. So what we need to do, John Murray, is have
who do you
double
blame
pick
for that?
weeks
Who do
every
you
week
blame
next
for
week.
that oversight?
Probably me. I'll take
you
the
blame
blame
yourself?
for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well that's respectable.
Listen, and we made it too easy.
So
we thought having some double pick weeks, we thought there'd be more upsets. I mean, outside of Ohio State losing to Michigan last weekend, like, you know, if Cal would have ended up beating Miami, that would have been probably pretty huge there, right? There was a couple other really good spots that where if you had the ability to take Notre Dame versus NIU because they're in the MAC, which you didn't, that would have been nice too. So I think next year what needs to be is like top 25 teams need to be available. And I know they change every single week, but there's got to be something there. And also we just need dogs to win outright.
Why isn't it just every Division I game, but you've got all the weeks are 2 picks, and then you've got some 3 pick weeks? That'd be hard.
Okay, that would be hard.
I think that'd be hard no matter how many teams you could have access to. Because I do think the confusion, it sounds to me like the confusion about the contest comes from what games are available. Like even me, I remember when Notre Dame lost, because remember I had a bet on Notre Dame to make the college football playoff. I remember when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, I thought to myself, well, at least that probably knocked a ton of people out of Survivor. And then I went and looked and I go, what the hell did Notre Dame get? So you've got to, I think this year was amazingly chalky. You mentioned Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida could have lost like 5 or 6 games this year.
They should have.
They probably should have lost to Virginia Tech on a Friday night. They should have lost to Cal. I've called Miami the biggest fraud in college football for weeks now. And I feel like they probably proved me right on Saturday against who did they lose to last
Syracuse. Week? I had Syracuse. My one bright spot on Saturday.
Yeah, so they were a fraud all season, but they were a team that managed to win a lot of these games, escape a lot of these games, kind of like the Chiefs do in your league. You know, they get out of there.
You're not allowed to say anything bad about the Chiefs. I didn't know if you knew that. That's like I think in like the fine print, you can't say anything about the refs or the Chiefs.
Why not? Says who? I can't make a. I can't.
The internet.
Joke. The internet. You know, you're on all these.
Get big mad when you point out like statistical anomalies that only apply to their team. Actually, a lot of people get mad. Politicians get mad. Climate alarmists get mad. I think it's really funny that people hate math. That's what the bottom line is.
You consider yourself a climate alarmist?
No, I think I'm a realist. That's why I live in Florida. We had a bunch of hurricanes this year, and it was not very much fun.
I'm going to do.
But for the next 7 years, when I don't have any hurricanes, nobody's going to bat an eye.
I got to get you out of this global warming talk before you get yourself in trouble. Saturday, they did take. I don't disagree necessarily with Kelly's take on the game. I'm just telling you that they took Georgia +3 at -110.
But that makes sense. I literally said on Sammy P's show today on BetQL, I said, if you like Texas, you lay 2.5. If you like Georgia, you take 3. That is not up for debate.
Clemson. So Clemson's in the ACC championship game. They play SMU. That game is Saturday night. I think Clemson is an interesting case study in the college football playoff. And I want to talk about this a little bit because I think what I said about Indiana last week wasn't fair. What I mean to say is I understand that these teams can't control their conference schedule. What I'm saying, and it's not Indiana's fault that they didn't play Oregon and they didn't play Penn State. What I'm saying is it's not going to behoove you to schedule anybody outside of the conference. Look at Clemson. They're 9-3. They lost to Georgia and South Carolina outside of the conference. What if they played the Citadel and South Carolina State?
Yeah.
They'd be 11-1, and they would just be in the college football playoff. That's what I'm trying to say. I understand.
I don't disagree with you. It's the same thing about Notre Dame that you said. They don't have to play a conference championship game to get in.
The conferences are so bloated now that there's always going to be this rotation of the conferences. And sometimes you're just going to get lucky like Indiana did this year and just have the favorable schedule. And you got to give them credit because they took advantage of it. And now they're going to be in the college football playoff. But the fact is they didn't play anybody outside of the Big Ten. And if they had, what I'm saying is I think they probably would have lost.
Well, like they did Ohio State.
And then why should you, if you're Clemson, ever play another game like, hey, here's what we're going to do the last week of August. Let's go to Georgia and go to Atlanta and play Georgia and get our asses kicked.
Well, we were just talking about
margin for error.
The game in Ireland. Now,
but
look
that's
at Florida State. Well, it is for Kansas State, but technically it's not. It is an in-conference game, but the reason why it got scheduled is because K-State people went up in arms about it not being a regular rivalry.
Mhm.
Like one that should be like K-State should play KU every year, but they should also play Iowa State every year, in my opinion, right?
Does the average K-State supporter get up in arms like you, or are most of them pretty laid back?
Have you not seen how we had one of the best signing days in my lifetime yesterday, and
I somehow
these
missed it.
crybabies were freaking out. I literally texted him. I go, Lincoln Kier just followed me on Twitter. I go, he's coming to K-State. You don't follow me on Twitter if you're not coming to K-State. And people are like, oh, you're reading too far into that. I'm like, I'm telling you, he's a Wildcat. Like, you guys can think, okay, fine, you went and visited Oregon. Yes, they have more money, but they also signed another tight end. K-State fans were losing their minds. So, yeah, I'm actually a pretty rational fan. I understand we suck this year. 8 wins isn't good enough. Trust me, I've been chirping at a couple people that I know that are very close to the program. They know. And I reminded them that 8 wins is not acceptable. And I got called all sorts of names by all the olds that are like, you don't remember 1977 where we won 1 football game. You're fucking right, I don't, because I wasn't born. Anyway.
Define old for me. Define old.
Anybody that was going to K-State games prior to Bill Snyder.
Oh, that is old.
Yeah. So anyway, but going back to the Ireland thing, like, yes, that's technically a Big 12 game, but the way that it worked out, look at FSU, right? Yes, they're 2-10, and we can say that. Look at Georgia Tech. They had a pretty decent season and took Georgia to the ropes the last game of the season.
Georgia Tech, by the way, Georgia Tech did have a decent season. I think like I was looking through Notre Dame's schedule after like just reading some stuff about who's going to get in, who's going to get out. We had no idea how bad Florida State was going to be. We made that bet. But
I understand that. But I do think, like, why would Florida State want to go to Ireland and play that game? Like, this goes back to your argument. Why would you want to travel and do all of these things? Like, I think it's bad for college football. I think it sets a bad precedence that says, like, no, you're right. You play South Carolina State, or you play, I don't know, some awful MAC school to start the year. Yes, every once in a while those upsets happen. Look at K-State, Tulane now in their, conference championship game. But like, when that was scheduled, how good was Tulane?
SMU is basically what I'm describing for Clemson. They're 11-1 because they haven't played anybody. Now, I'm not saying that they're not going to beat Clemson on Saturday. That's not my argument. My argument is they're 11-1 because they haven't played anybody. And Clemson's 9-3 because they played Georgia and South Carolina. And I just don't understand why you would continue scheduling these games if all it's going to do is be a strike.
So I'll say this much: I think the BCS was flawed. As somebody whose team got screwed over a lot by the BCS, I do think it was flawed.
I don't recall ever feeling like Kansas State. I'm looking at our producer that Kansas State got screwed over by the BCS. I remember thinking TCU got screwed one year. I don't recall that about Kansas State.
Okay, so anyway, the BCS had its own set of flaws, but I think it's better than whatever this is. I think this is still a very much so work in progress. Like, Indiana is not a top 10 team or a top 12 team in the country. But the people want to argue about hypothetical games. Like, look at Lane Kiffin's tweet and what he was talking about. Talking about our producer, he was up in arms, but I'm like, you lost to Alabama and Ole Miss, so you shouldn't get in over one of those two teams.
Yeah, but I don't really think losing to Alabama and Ole Miss is so bad. I guess that's my point.
It's not, but you should not. But if you lose, right? So, like, for example, Indiana lost to Ohio State. Let's just say Ohio State was out, right? Because they lost to Oregon, they lost to Michigan. Let's just say they were out. Indiana should not get in over them.
Right. Okay. Now that I agree with. And I guess what I said was unfair to Indiana because all they did was play their schedule and they won all their games except for the Ohio State game. It's not like the kids' fault, but I'm just saying I think it's a bad. I'm only using Indiana as the case study. I just think it's a bad precedent to be like, you guys went 11-1. You played nobody out of your conference. You got lucky with your conference schedule this year because the conferences are so big now and the rotation of the schedule. And you're in the playoff over this team that went 9-3, even though we all know that 9-3 team is better than you.
Right, but here's the
I
argument.
don't like.
Who says that they're better because they're in the SEC? That pisses me off too. Because again, if
I mean,
Texas,
they
who
are.
only won the Big 12 4 times, can go in year one and win the SEC, is the SEC really that great and dominant? I don't know.
How official is that 4 number? You got that number in front of you?
I know
Is
that
that
for a
it?
fucking fact, John Murray. You know why? Because some Texas loser was chirping in my mentions about
Yeah,
how
exactly.
K-State couldn't hold a candle to Texas in the Big 12. I said, sir, not only did we own Texas for a better part of a decade in baseball, in football, in basketball, in volleyball, and every other sport.
Well, I'm
That's what
sure
we
that
had.
guy cared a lot about the
Say,
volleyball
we
results.
own Texas.
Yeah, in volleyball.
Just so you know, K-State's won 3 Big 12 championships. Texas has won 4.
3 is less than 4. I thought you
Who gives
were
a shit?
some big. You were
That's
building
my
up
point,
some
though.
big
It's not
number.
like Texas won 18 out of 40.
No,
They won
didn't.
4.
That's true. I like this side.
Oklahoma. Now we can talk about Oklahoma's won like 8 or 9.
So I guess the Big Ten title game, which is Saturday night. Have you seen, by the way, the ticket prices for that game?
It's like $15.
They're practically free. So Oregon plays Penn State, and the winner of this game is going to be the number 1 seed in the pool in the tournament. Is that what we're saying? Because I get it. Obviously, if Oregon wins, of course, they went undefeated and they won.
Okay, so if Oregon wins, yes, they should be the number 1 overall seed. But if Texas beats Georgia,
should they get? But Penn
Penn
State would have 1 loss,
and so does Texas. So how do you decide who's the overall number 1?
Texas have 2 losses? Maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, they only lost to Georgia, I think.
Okay, then Texas would be the 1 seed. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Right?
But
let me double check that. Hold, please.
Well, you double check that Big 12 title number too, because I'm skeptical.
That I know for sure. Okay. I did that yesterday. Hold, please.
I'm going to hold.
You're holding. The SEC championship game. Texas is 11-1 and Georgia's 10-2. Yeah, I thought so. Because I had Texas under 10.5 wins, and I lost that bet.
I thought, well, you bet under Texas? Oh my God.
Yeah, but I also bet under A&M. That was great, which I couldn't win that bet at the end of the year.
Your hatred for Texas is palpable. You feel it through this StreamYard or whatever we use. Penn State plus 3.5 did get some sharp money. We just moved the VIG on it, though. We haven't actually moved the number yet. But Penn State at plus 3.5, minus 110, I think was, or minus 109, I should say. Definitely got some sharp money. So I don't trust James Franklin. To be honest with you, I don't really trust him to win the game.
Of course not. How could you?
I feel like it's a very strange game. But one thing I do like is
Oklahoma has 14 Big 12 championships. In case you wanted to know, Texas has 4. K-State has 3. Baylor has 3. Do you want to know how many West Virginia has?
They don't have any. They've only been in the Big 12 for like 20 years. How many does Arizona have?
Well, Arizona's been in 1 year.
0. That's the answer.
You and Arizona, 0 Big 12 championships.
Hey, West Virginia's going to the Frisco Bowl, Kelly.
Like I said, Texas fans want to chirp like they're Oklahoma. Give me a damn break.
Anyways, I lost my train of thought.
We were just kind of discussing that certain teams in their scenarios of getting in. So if Penn State, which did take sharp money, you said.
That's what I wanted to say. I like, because I always complain about realignment. But one of the cool things about the realignment is it's given us these fresh conference championship games. Like, I understand that we saw Georgia play Texas in the regular season, but obviously that's a cool college football game if you're a college football fan. Penn State, Oregon, that's not a matchup we get very much. And I would even
always either Michigan versus Northwestern, Ohio State versus Iowa. They're always terrible.
Well, it's usually like Michigan or Ohio State just destroying Wisconsin.
Yeah, they're like a 2-touchdown favorite. Like, it's exciting to see. Like,
or Iowa.
Yeah.
No, I know. I like this. I think it's cool. And then I think Arizona State, Iowa State is a cool game too. So we get some fresh SMU Clemson's a good game. We get some fresh matchups that we're not used to. So that's a benefit of realignment. Are you ready for the NFL, or do you have a best bet in college? You're not doing a hottie threesome.
No, there's not any big underdogs. But here's what
doing a hottie twosome.
No, because I like a couple favorites. So here's the reality. You guys are booking 105 on Friday night for UNLV.
We are.
And are you guys booking 109 on Saturday for the other game still?
We book every college game at minus 109.
Okay. And that's going to just stay for the foreseeable future?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll probably do. I mean, we haven't totally decided all this, but I think we'll probably reduce it a little bit more day of for the college football playoff games. I don't know if we'll
Ooh.
start that in the first round. We haven't, to be honest, we haven't totally determined that yet, but that minus 109 is here to stay for sure.
I love that. I love that, except I'm not there. Take advantage of
But
it.
you wouldn't be allowed to bet her anyway. You're an employee.
I am allowed to bet there. I was just there. I walked up to the window where they said I had $100 max in my parlay. They went in the back and let me bet $300. So please tell me what I am or am not allowed to do.
I got to call compliance.
And UNT, North Texas, completely screwed me over, and I should have used Air Force, my number one college football team, according to our friends over at Pickett. Yeah, let's hear the NFL real quick because
you don't have a best bet for college, or is it Texas?
No, my best bet's Tulane. I laid 4.5 with Tulane. I like Tulane. I'm betting against Army at home. Speaking of fraudulent and not playing anybody, that is Army. Army should have lost that game last week.
Do you not support the United States military academies?
Okay, first of all, I've already been accused of that twice now on today's show by giving out Tulane. That could be farther from the truth.
No, Kelly is very much a patriot. NFL.
Okay, let's hear it.
So you ready for this one? I know you're going to need to write this down because I've only said it every week of the entire season. They bet the New York Jets. They took 6.5. We're down to 5.5. They play at Miami. The Jets, I thought last week the Jets really made sense because Seattle was in between the two Arizona games.
The Jets never make sense.
The Jets were off a bye week, and the Jets lost. The Jets
they never make sense. I don't understand why are they doing this every single week? And who?
They do it every week.
Who? The same group?
No, the whole market moves. I mean, the Jets closed -2 in that game against Seattle on Sunday. The whole market moves with it.
This is where I will disagree with the math guys over and over and over again. At least after a couple of times, I'm smart enough to just say, you know what? It doesn't matter. This team is not any good.
Do you think those you said math guys, you kind of hesitated. Did you mean like nerds or analytic guys?
I meant like the guys who live and die by their numbers and think everybody else is fucking stupid. But every single week they bet these same garbage teams over and over and over again. Where like someone like me is like, all right, listen, I'm just dead wrong. The market is not caught up with them. Like last week, I was on the Panthers. I bet them late. They probably should have won the game, but was I surprised to see them lose? No, they're the Panthers. And oh, by the way, I was on the Raiders on Friday. That was my best bet. Was I surprised to see the refs bail out the Chiefs on Friday night? Of course not. So it's like
we really needed the Panthers. We really needed the Panthers to win. That was painful. You know what was painful about it was watching that game. That was painful. I didn't want to watch that game, but I did. That was painful.
I will say this. I had the Panthers +6. Brett had the Bucks in a teaser and just needed them to win. So both of us were we middled that game as a household, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. I'm delighted for Brett. That's great news. I mentioned the Seahawks. They played Arizona -2.5, moved us up to 3. So critical game in the NFC West. Really big game. They took Arizona -2.5. Seattle beat Arizona 2 weeks ago at home. Then they went to New York and beat the Jets in the game we just talked about. Now they're going at the Cardinals. If the Seahawks win this game, they are very much in the driver's seat for the NFC West.
That's insane.
Which is crazy to me. I know, I agree, because their season was over until Geno Smith made
they lost to the Giants and knocked us out of one of our survivors. Yes.
And then last one I got is on Sunday Night Refs at Arrowhead. Kelly's favorite team, the Chiefs. They laid -3.5. They moved us to -4. So this is a really interesting one to me because the number on the Chiefs has finally been adjusted to the fact that, this team, I'm not going to say they're not good, but they're not blowing anybody out. They don't win easily.
Mahomes has thrown 11 interceptions this year.
They don't look good. They're not
his name was Joe Burrow, if Joe Burrow had 11 interceptions on the season with his horrific defense, everybody would be losing their minds.
Well, Kansas City, they could have lost the game on Friday. Kelly's right. They should have lost to Denver at Arrowhead. They probably should have lost the Cincinnati game in week 2 at Arrowhead when they called that pass interference penalty. They could have They could have lost the Monday night game at Tampa Bay if the Bucs had gone for 2, which they should have. Kansas City could have lost 3, 4, 5 games right now.
Someone had the audacity.
They've got a real problem.
His name is Marco D'Angelo, so you can talk to him about this tomorrow on the show. Had the audacity to tell me that Kansas City's just sitting back waiting for the playoffs. What? No, they're not.
They need to be, if that's their plan, they need to be careful, because right now they've got the Buffalo Bills on their heels. Buffalo beat them. So if they finish with the same record, the Bills are going to have home field, not the Chiefs. Josh Allen, right this second, as we sit here on the show, is the best player in the NFL, not Patrick Mahomes. So it'll be tough for the Chiefs, I think, to go into Buffalo. But we've said that before, and they've done it.
I told you 3 weeks, a month ago, put up Chiefs, no, at the Westgate, and I will come out there and they're not winning the Super Bowl. They are.
Did I just forget to do it?
Tell our producers to clip this, because they're not winning the Super Bowl.
Boy, that would make you look silly if they did, John. That would, you know how silly she'd look. She'd look really silly.
Not going to look silly.
What is your? I said you would. But
I'm not going to. I'm not worried about it.
What is your best bet, and what is your barking dog, or are they the same?
So they're interchangeable. I actually said that my barking dog was the Chargers, and then during the show I said, wait a minute, I shouldn't use the Chargers as the barking dog because they're not going to win outright. The Chiefs are going to kick a late field goal and win by 3. We've seen this scenario too many times before. So the barking dog should be the Dallas Cowboys, and I screwed that up. So they're synonymous. The Chargers and the Cowboys are my 2 underdogs that I like this week.
UFC 310 is, wait, which one's the barking dog?
Well, it was the Chargers on the show. And as I'm giving my best bet, I'm like, wait a minute, I actually think the Cowboys can win this game outright. I should have flip-flopped them.
You know what I'd like to do is, Kelly, because I got a producer, John, here. He's really good with the graphics. Maybe
he's really good making sure that you actually have a working microphone and camera so that our audience can see you.
Maybe that would mean nothing to me if they did, honestly. Maybe we should have a graphic where Kelly is like talking about her barking dog, and then there's a picture of baby Mario, my pup, and he could be the sponsor of the barking dog. He's a great guy. UFC 310 is on.
Every time I'm talking to you, that dog is. I don't do dogs that bark. I like quiet dogs.
He's ridiculous. My mother was here for Thanksgiving, and she loved Mario, but he was driving her crazy because he's so badly behaved. But
because you don't make him behave.
He's my boy. UFC 310 is Saturday night at T-Mobile. I don't really have anything on the main event or the co-main event. They bet Vicente Luque a couple times. That price has come down a lot. They were betting him at plus 165 and plus 160. I think now he's more like plus 120 on the market. They bet Cyril Gahn all the way up to minus 360. That's a heavyweight fight on the main card. And you're going to love this one. This one's for Kelly. Chase Hooper. They bet him from minus 750 to minus 1,400. Kelly, do you want to bet Chase Hooper minus 1,400?
No, but everybody's going to have him in a money line parlay.
Oh, I know that. And money line parlays don't lose. So congrats, Chase Hooper. You're going to win on Saturday night.
You're T-Mobile. So right about that. I've seen so many money line parlays hit lately. I'm just like, congrats, guys. Congrats on your 8 legs.
I'm going to be there Saturday, but I won't be there for that fight. That fight's at 3:25. That's like the first prelim fight. I'll still be at work, but I'll be there in time for the main fights. Do you want to do mailbag?
Let's do the mailbag.
Yes.
Joseph the Fourth on IG says, does Alabama deserve to make the college football playoff? No, I actually don't think they do. How about that?
Then who does? But then who does?
That's the problem. So how do we fix this, John Murray? What do we need to do to fix this flawed system? Because
tell me Alabama's losses again. They lost at Ole Miss, right?
They lost at Ole Miss. They lost at Vanderbilt.
That's right. They lost at Vanderbilt. Who else did they lose to?
I think that's it.
No, if they had 2 losses, they'd be in.
They have 3 losses? Do they have 3 losses? Good question.
They must have lost to somebody. Do you know, Johnny?
Hold on.
Did they lose to Tennessee?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They lost to Texas.
I'm just saying, at Ole Miss.
No, Tennessee. They lost at Tennessee. Sorry.
That's what I said. At Ole Miss and at Tennessee are not really bad losses. They also have a win over Georgia.
They lost to a team named Vanderbilt.
Okay, but who else on the bubble has a win as good as
some great powerhouse SEC team? I think if anything,
Vanderbilt shows that the rest
is not that good.
But you're ignoring my argument. They beat Georgia. So I know Ole Miss beat
here's
Georgia.
the problem. No, I
right?
don't think Alabama, a 3-loss team, should get in over Indiana, a 1-loss team.
Well,
Indiana. I know Indiana didn't play anybody. But if
Indiana's place is secure, Indiana's not the question.
I understand.
So
but
this comes down to like Alabama, Ole Miss.
If Alabama's only loss was to Tennessee or 2 losses was at Tennessee, Ole Miss, I think I could argue for them. But losing at Vanderbilt as what, a 4-touchdown favorite or something, it was really high. Wasn't it like
that's not? This is not the argument though. Indiana's in. Who are the teams on the bubble?
But right, so
like I would say, I'll tell you right now, I think Alabama definitely should be in ahead of Miami, Florida for sure.
Yes.
So if Miami's on the bubble, give me Alabama all day. So what if SMU loses on Saturday to Clemson? They finish 11-2.
Okay, number 1 Oregon, number 2 Texas, number 3 Penn State, number 4 Notre Dame, number 5 Georgia, number 6 Ohio State, number 7 Tennessee, number 8 SMU, number 9 Indiana, number 10 Boise State, number 11 Alabama, number 12 Miami. So Ole Miss, who beat Alabama, is on the outside looking in. Okay. South Carolina, who played Alabama really tough, is on the outside looking in. Arizona
played them really tough, so lost.
Yes, but my point being is Tennessee, who beat Alabama, is ahead of them. You're right. I think Alabama should be in over Miami. I also think Ole Miss should be in over Miami. I think South Carolina should be in over Miami, and I think Arizona State and Iowa State and Clemson and BYU should be in over Miami.
I don't know. I mean, it sounds to me like just looking at that bubble, it should be. I don't have the schedules in front of me, but it kind of sounds like Ole Miss because they beat Alabama. Although, did Ole Miss lose to South Carolina?
No, they lost to Kentucky.
Oh, they lost to Kentucky. Yeah. Okay.
That was their bad loss at home.
I'm going to say here's my final answer to Joseph IV. Yes, I think they're going to get in because I think what they want to do is have.
No.
Hold on.
Do they deserve to get in? Yes, we know they're not going to get left out. We know the committee is going to put them in. Do they deserve?
Sounds like out of that hodgepodge of teams, I don't have a problem with letting Alabama in. I don't know. That doesn't.
I think Ole Miss should be in over them, okay. Yes. And I think whoever wins the Big 12 should be in over them. How about that?
Well, whoever wins the Big 12 is going to get it.
That's not as it stands as of December 3rd.
You want to bet me right now that the winner of the Big 12 doesn't get into the playoff? I'll bet you whatever you want. They're going to get in.
Okay.
Bet you anything you want, kid. And you're rich.
But they're ranked 15th and 16th. How are they going to get in?
It's an automatic bid. They're going to get in if they win.
Okay.
I'll bet you a ticket to the Kansas State game in Dublin.
All right. FR Forever 720 on IG says, can KIV make some YouTube videos on how to handicap games with live information? Ooh, that'd be fun. I'm not much of a live bettor. I'll be really honest with you.
I kind of like that. No, I don't think he's talking about live betting. I'm saying handicap games with information. Or maybe he is talking about live betting. Well, I don't know about that, but I know
live information.
Somebody that I work with asked me, are there any like tutorial videos of how to actually place a bet? A lot of people come to Vegas. They're so used to betting on their apps that they don't even know about like, oh my God, I got to walk up to the counter and say, give me number 223 for $110 or whatever. And maybe somebody like Kelly, who's so wonderful and cheery, could make a video.
There's like 80,000 of those videos out there somewhere. I did that so many years ago.
Are there?
You don't remember that? Oh my gosh, we have so many videos on how to make a bet.
I don't
There's so much stuff out there. All right. GFL13 on IG says, can the Eagles really lose to Carolina, or is Eagles money line a lock?
Yeah, they could lose a game because it's the NFL. And
it's the NFL Eagles and coach, Bryce Young all Eagles of a sudden. No? Bryce Young's not
I think the Eagles coach is kind of a bonehead too, honestly.
Oh boy. Nick Sirianni, bonehead. Noted. Question. At Wise Guy Wager on X says, congratulations to John Murray on the promotion. Well deserved. I imagine you will be leaving the show. Any names for possible replacements?
Right. Yeah, we do. We've come up with a list of names that we've been culling down a little bit to take over in my absence for the 2025 season. And we will certainly we'll probably let Kelly know second. We'll let the producers know first, and then we'll let Kelly know next.
Shit.
No, I don't think I'm going to leave the show because I love this is what people don't know about me. I love Kelly very much. And I also love the guys that produce our show, John and Louie. So it's really more if John and Louie want me to do the show, then I'll continue to do the show.
Oh boy, the next question.
Plus,
Mooney
I can
party of
see
4.
Bitcoin's crashing here a little bit, so I think I am
Told
going to have to
you.
keep
I
doing the
asked
show
if you
for
sold
at
any of
least
it, and you said no. It's going to $1 million. So here we are.
I think it's going
Mooney,
to go to $1 million. What am I selling for?
oh my God.
Next question.
Mooney part. Then why can't we just get a suite in Ireland? If Bitcoin's going to $1 million, why does any of it matter?
No, I said I would do it. I just think that's a high number. I'll do it, but like I told you what I paid for the one in Las Vegas. It was much cheaper.
But you'd be willing to pay that much to go see Liverpool.
Oh, you would need to see Liverpool. It wouldn't be in a suite. I'll tell you that much.
Liverpool's gonna be $1,000 a ticket to see fucking soccer. No, come on.
No, probably not 1,000. Probably not 1,000, but it'd be a lot more than you realize.
I really don't care about soccer that much. All right. Mooney Party of 4 on X says, are there rules for teasing college basketball similar to the Wong teaser in NFL, or is it just a bad bet? I'm going to make this one short and sweet. Don't do it. At TS Finky on X says, how many people work in the book to set all those college basketball lines each day?
Boy, I mean, managing the college basketball really is the toughest of all the sports because you've got first halves, you got the games, you've got the money lines, you got the totals, which move quickly. You've got all the games going to halftime. It's a real focus back there. It depends a little bit on the day of the week. Saturdays, Wednesdays, there's more games. Tuesdays got a lot of games. Thursday, but it's certainly the focal point this time of year because it's really the area that the wise guys are probably trying to exploit the most. It's college basketball, so it's a lot of guys.
So what do you have, like 6 or 7 guys back there?
Oh, I wish. I mean, we got our guys back there are working on really important stuff like NASCAR matchups and golf matchups.
Oh boy!
So
they
don't have time for minor stuff like college basketball.
GWK 1313. Do you think all the sports books are being truthful when they give betting splits by the public?
Yeah, I've got this question before. I don't really understand it. Like, why? Like, why would you lie? I don't really understand. Like, if I said,
I don't know, to entice money on the other side.
But if I wanted to entice money on the other side, I could just change the line. Like, I've never understood that accusation. I know people say that on X a lot. Also, maybe I'm just not a very smart person, but every time they've asked me for the splits, it never even occurred to me to fake them. I would just go look at the screen and be like, oh, 70% on Oregon. Never even occurred to me to do that. I don't know why. I don't know how it would help. I have no idea.
I don't think it would help. All right. Toronto, not Toronto, Toronto 647 on X says, what is your biggest liability in college football championship weekend?
Geez, what isn't a liability this weekend? We don't want Arizona State to beat Iowa State on, I think that game is Saturday morning at Jerry World. We are going to be rooting for Iowa State. Kelly, don't write that down because you always write down what we need in the NFL and it always loses and then you get mad at me. But we are going to need the Iowa State.
I want to bet Iowa State, and maybe that will give me the.
But don't yell at me if it loses. I mean, I'm just answering this kid's question in the mailbag.
No problem.
Okay. Thanks, man. Okay.
Last week, your biggest liability was Clemson. Art Caesar gave it to me on WagerTalk's last call. And guess what? That did not work out well for me.
That was a very painful game to watch.
Happy for our producer, I guess.
Me too.